It's Monday. We're in another location, as you'd expect, for May at the moment. We'll be back in the studio next week. But welcome to the show, everyone. It's the Merry Monday Mailcall Show. The often copied, but this is the original, folks. You can have your mega Monday Mailcall shows, but this is the original. Welcome. It's great to see you all today. We have a very, very, very special guest. Let me bring him to the stage, the legend, the myth, the legend, Brandon from Moncomics. It's so good to see you.
I don't even feel good enough to be here after that intro. Like your stuff is so good. I was just like enthralled in it, and I'm like, I'm not even good enough to be here. Just take me home.
No, that's absolutely not true. So actually, let's tell everyone about the channels, because basically we started around the same time and met each other on Ricky's stream, All Sorts of Words, many moons ago. And I think we instantly got on, which was great, and shared experiences. And I've been dying to get you on the show for the longest time. So this is great. So thank you, mate.
Pleasure's all over. I've been dying to get one-on-one with you too. So.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And as I say, we have very much a shared passion for certain things. So we'll cover that in a little while. But first of all, my friend, tell everyone a little bit about the channel for those of you who may or may not know about Moncomics. And I'd love to hear the origin story, because it's always fascinating to see how people got here.
Okay, it's 2019. I'm playing Magic the Gathering pretty hard. I had invested in commander decks. They're very expensive, but I wasn't getting to go out as much. My kids are at home. Like, leaving my wife with 2 kids was a lot. And I didn't like the direction that their company was taking. It seemed like a lot of cash grabs. You had to pay to play to get the best cards. And I collected comics pretty hard back in 2010. Some when I was younger, but more seriously in 2010. Like, I had an Avengers 1. I had Tomb of Dracula 10. I had Amazing Spider-Man #5. I had some big hitters. Like, I just collected a little bit of everything I liked. So I got out of that. But in 2019, I didn't like where the company was going. And I was like, you know what? I miss comics. So I'm going to offload all my Magic cards and start my comic collecting again. And I did. And I figured out, like what I wanted to go with and what I enjoyed most from before. And then about, COVID hits and stuff. I'm watching YouTubers, found some I didn't like really. Like, I just didn't have the positivity I was looking for, just the content. And then I found Mike in 2021 from Lunch Money Comics. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is what I've been looking for. He's kind, he's honest, he's passionate about the hobby. And I started watching him, and he referenced his presser and cleaner, Jeff from Comic Spa, who is just extraordinary. So I was able to send him books and get on the ground floor. I emailed him from Mike's video, and we began just chatting like once a week. He'd call me and he'd show me what he was doing, and I'd send him books. And he's like, hey, would you like to talk to Mike sometimes? I'm like, yeah, I would. Like, I'd be appreciative to pick his brain. I'd already started my channel there because I was like, I think I'll start a YouTube channel, because I'm in the middle of nowhere, right? Like, I don't have everyone's doing LCS pickups, local comic day. I don't have that. The closest LCS is 30 minutes for me, and they're not great. So the good ones are like 45 minutes. So I was like, my shtick will be getting comics in the middle of nowhere, like via good sellers on Instagram and whatnot. And I would vet buyers for people and put them in my comments, let people know these are good people to buy from. They have good prices, accurately grade, good deals often. So I started the channel, and then I got to talk to Mike a bit and pick his brain about stuff. And then I just got into it. I was like, if I can do a video a week, I didn't have, once I was out of Magic, I didn't have to go anywhere to do my hobby. I was in my office with my wife, and I could do everything here, and I could collect and read. And Mike helped me out a lot with the channel, and other people in the community welcomed me right in. Like the Immortal Biggie Shack invited me to a Friday night collectors club, and they were playing comic poker and, pick 5 covers that best represent. And everyone kept just welcoming me in. Mark from Legion of Comics, Brian LCI, like everyone was just so kind. And I feel like I'd found the niche. So that's how the channel started. It was, an amalgamation of watching Mike, getting inspired by him, thinking about what kind of shtick. I live in the middle. I'm like middle of the woods right now. I live in a pond. I'm out in the boonies. So that was my shtick, is like, I started off more as like how to get good comics and how to vet sellers and offer them to people. But then it kind of grew into something else. As you know, like your channel starts with one thing you think it's going to be. And then all of a sudden you're like, it leads you to different avenues that you can do. You watch other people, you get ideas, and it just kind of snowballs. But it's been a blast.
It's cool. It's very, very cool. It's funny because I assumed originally that Mon was short for monster.
Everyone does. Everyone does. I guess it's the dual meaning.
Middle of nowhere comics. Is that correct?
Middle of nowhere.
Middle of
and
nowhere.
I showed my cousin who's a YouTuber, and he's like Star Wars and gaming and stuff, and he's done hard work. He's a great graphic designer, but I told him my idea, and he's like, "Yeah, go for it." And I surpassed him pretty quick, and I felt bad. But it's all in the niche you're in, and kind of like who you know and stuff. But shout out Scotty Hawkward Gaming for helping me out with a lot of my stuff. But yeah, Monster, I get that confused a lot. Monster, middle of nowhere. Like I just say pick whatever you want now because it's true.
Well, it's good. Yeah, exactly. It works for both, which is the best thing. So that's great. Speaking of the community, because you mentioned that and a lot of the names, we've got a number of people in the chat, so we will say hello. We have the Toy Box, who has a record on this channel now for being first all the time. So
that's awesome.
Congratulations and welcome. Belle's here, checking in to watch, so great to see you. Christopher Parker's here. What's up? Good to see you. Mon, you said hello as well. Brandon, you said hi. We've got Empress Comics. Matt's here. How's everyone doing? Thomas Bliss is here. And the man, the myth, the legend, the other moderating legend, Richard Westfall is here. And he's saying hello to everyone, which is what you'd expect from one of the best mods in the business. And I think we may be, Comic Collector Coach is here too. Good afternoon or good morning from Australia. So we're both in the middle of nowhere, technically, from a comic standpoint.
Yes.
Comic Collector Coach. We've also got Jab's Expensive Paper too. So welcome, everyone. I think we may have everyone in the list. The chat's going off, which is always a good sign. JSS Brooklyn is here too.
Another great mod. Him and Richard in the room. Forget about it. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, we've got 2 mods in the room. All we need now is Christina to have the full trifecta. So it's great. I think, I think we're up to date. JSS was the last one to join, but amazing to have you all. Let's turn that off. So yes. Great to see all the community here as well. So you mentioned that you had just earlier that you had these books. So were those what was it? The 3 books that you mentioned that you'd had in 2010, big books.
I had like the 3 books I had. What was your question?
Tomb of Dracula. You had Tomb of Dracula was one of them.
Tomb of Dracula 10. I had Avengers 1 in a CGC 1.8, so low grade, but looked good, what I could afford. Had Amazing Spider-Man. Actually, is it issue? Which one's the Doom? Is that 3 or 5?
I think it's 5.
5.
Keep us honest.
Yep. I had X-Men, the first Sentinels, X-Men 13, I believe. I just kind of like collected.
That's 14. That's
yes.
14.
I kept just getting a bunch of different keys that I really enjoyed from all sorts of properties. I really didn't have a focus at that point. I was just having fun with it.
Yeah.
And then I sold them all to get my wife's engagement ring.
So you did sell them?
To get my wife's engagement ring.
Okay. Well, that's a great reason, because I've been selling some recently for the renovations and things like that. Things like that, you need to sell them. So
you can get them back.
Yeah, you get them, but those books you can get back. But that does bring up a question for me later in the show to ask you as well. Ryan, the Colossus Collectors here, who's on the show last week. Hello to you. Great to see you. I'm so not used to having the chat down here as opposed to up here. It's
you got
a big screen. On a bigger screen, you'd think you'd be able to nail it, but I'm not really. So, what was the first comic book you ever bought? Like ever? What got you into comics in the first one? What was that one comic book that started it all?
On the rack, it was Spectacular Spider-Man issue 200. It was that great foil Green Goblin and Spider-Man cover. It was like a holofoil, so like that just drew me in as a kid. That was the one I got off the rack.
And have you got a copy of that now?
I think I do in my box somewhere. I didn't have time to dig it out. I think I do. I'm not 100%. I did buy one. It was like $10 on like a claim sale,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh yeah, like, to reclaim the first book I bought. But that was the first book I bought. Yeah, when I was younger. That was in high school. Before high school. Then high school, you set that stuff aside, and but yeah. So that was my first book.
That was your first book, which is weird because if you think about where the direction you've gone, I can look on the back wall there. You've got like a whole bunch of different monster books, right? Which is what I primarily know. Our conversations, or where we first gravitated together, was around Silver Age, Marvel, Keys, or big books. And you've got obviously the Fantastic Four there, first Galactus, first Silver Surfer. So I'm keen to sort of get a sense from you, what's driving the collection now? Like as I say, it seems to have taken two different slants from what the videos that I've seen.
What now? I mean, I've always been a huge Man Thing fan. I loved him as a Bronze Age monster and what he is and his whole backstory. But like, eventually I got obsessed with. I mean, I'm a fan of history. If you like comics, you're pretty much a fan of history too, and the different points in time that you can pick out of them. And I just find it. I love monsters growing up, and I find it fascinating that the thing that carried Marvel from little bit postcode Atlas into the Marvel, the only thing that really kept them going hard was the pre-hero monsters before the Fantastic Four. Strange Tales, Astonishing Tales, what else were the big ones? Tales of Suspense, before they turned into super. I mean, that was what carried Marvel. And I wondered, like, Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers and Larry Lieber and Stan Lee, like, if they hadn't thought of that, would Marvel had evolved eventually? I mean, even Fantastic Four number 1 has that. I can't remember the name of the creature. Someone can drop in the chat, coming out of the road that they're fighting. Yeah.
That's gigantic.
So, I love collecting those. I do love getting some pre-code stuff when I can, because it's the horror. I've always been a horror fan. Lately I have been getting into more like just happen to pick up. I like getting signature books from really prolific people in the game. So like I have a John Buscema, I have a Stan Lee all of a sudden, I have a Jim Lee, I have a Frank Bruner or Roy Thomas. Like I've really gotten a kick out of like getting signatures from the great creator. All of a sudden I've got a ton of yellow labels and I'm like, oh, I should just keep collecting. Like when I find like,
So the yellow labels is an interesting one. So you're not getting, obviously some of those you can't get signed, right? So you're basically picking up some of those I'm assuming you're picking them off eBay, given the fact there's very little stores around where you are.
Yeah, no. So like in the community, my Fantastic Four, my Stan Lee signed Fantastic Four came from Big B McFly, the comic guy. I just put feelers out there and said, this is what I'm looking for. And he's like, oh, I got those. And he had me pick. He had a bunch of Stan Lee signed books and they had COAs and I sent it in for authentication. Of course, it was true. John Buscema's autograph I got from Terrificon from Very Gary. It was a blue label CGC that said John Buscema written in ink on the inside of the cover. And I sent it in and sure enough, it was legit. The Jim Lee, I found at an antique show. It was Uncanny X-Men 286, the Captain America cover, and it had 100 on it, but the guy was my buddy, so he sold it to me for 80. Which if you're going to send in for a Jim Lee, it's going to cost you 120 anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
A Man Thing that was the very first one I got with Frank Bruner because he's one of my favorite artists. I got that off of a great seller and whatnot that I became friends with. That's sold it to me and made a deal, and then I sent that one in for Roy Thomas because a lot of these creators, like you're not gonna. A lot of the old school ones are Jim Shooter, all these guys. It sucks. It's like, but yes, I have had to branch out. But like the community has helped in that.
Okay, so it's a mix of. So not really eBay, much more of the sort of whatnot.
No eBay. Yeah, I haven't had to go through eBay at all, which is kind of crazy because you can. There's tons on there,
So I'm in the similar sort of, which is why I'm interested in that piece, because I'm in a similar sort of kick where I'm trying to find signatures, or if there's a signature book I'll pick it up. I do really like the signatures on the interior pages of some over the exterior pages sometimes. Like I've really got into that recently. So yeah, it's great to see that you. Yeah.
Didn't you do a video a while ago where you had a signature on the inside?
John Byrne and
John
Chris
Byrne, you were at
Claremont.
con, right?
Yeah, I've got that, and then I also I've got it really early. I think I did it 2 weeks ago. I got a New Mutants first print of actually first print Canadian as well from that comic store in Canada, and it was a really old Chris Claremont signature. He's still with us, which is great. So you can get it, but you can really see the difference in his signature from because it was signed in 1989.
I've got his. I've got like a bunch of raw sigs too. I've got like Claremont and God, I can't even think of everyone, but I have a ton that are raw too. But yes, Claremont's changed because I've looked at that. And inside signatures are great. I definitely agree. I think it would be smart. I took a high res picture of mine and kept it with the book. But I was talking to some other people. It'd be great if CGC. I mean, they already have enough on their plate. But if they could like just put in the back of the label, the back of a book, there's nothing here. If they could just put a picture of that signature, because they're all small, so that anyone who's buying the book, you could say, oh, that's what the signature looks on the inside. Give it a yellow label.
It's funny. My understanding is that when CGC grade, every single book that goes through the process gets photographed during grading as well as at the end of it. So you're right. There's an opportunity there for them to add that in, but that would involve them doing something altruistic.
Yeah, and with everything, we hear enough problems on their hands. Like that's the last thing they need is to be like putting like Jack Kirby's verified signature, and it's supposed to be Stan Lee. Like it could totally opens up another hole.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. So, what other books have you got to show today? Because we talked prior to the show, and we talked about one of the things I was always very keen on is to see this. Not so much. It's called the Mailcall Show, but this is much more around like what's the big pickups? What are the big books you've had throughout the years? And we talked about trying to show them.
I wanted to answer your question too. Like you'd sent me that question about storylines that really impacted me. That I loved. And I think my favorite comes from this book right here, which is this is the Man-Thing record and comic set that they used to do out with. And this is Night of the Laughing Dead Part 1. It's a 2-part. I think they're issues 7 and 8 in the original Man-Thing run. But I think it's a really interesting in the 70s what they tackled. This clown is basically bullied at the carnival he works for, and he goes into the swamp and shoots himself. So it deals with suicide, which was a heavy topic back at that time to be dealing with. And the story is just really, really deep and prolific. And the Man-Thing, this guy's soul comes back with these demons from hell, and Man-Thing fights him off no problem to help save his soul. So this was sent to me by Dan Kelly from the Codex channel, and as a gift because he just found it. And my buddy Doug, the comic collector coach, had sent me an issue too, so I've got 2 issues of it now. But this is Mike Plug art. It's great art on the cover. He did some great Man-Thing art. I know I'm very jealous. Like when you first started getting into the game, Dave, I saw that you got the Mike Plug Werewolf by Night from the personal files of Mike Plug signed, and I was watching those books. You got 2. I was watching those books go on Facebook and his group and stuff, and I was like, oh, because they're all high grade. Says from the personal collection of Mike Plug, signed by Mike Plug. It's like chef's kiss. I mean, like that is something so unique to me.
And he doesn't sign very often, which is the other thing. Mike's very he doesn't do shows. So if you've got, I haven't shown these on the channel yet, but I don't have them with me. But I've also got 2 sketches that were through a UK auction house of Ghost Rider and Werewolf by Night. So they'll be showing soon. But he's a genius. Bring that book back up again because I do want to talk about that a little. I have this as well, and I love these. They're so good. Essentially, these are 7-inch records, power records, and essentially they came with a comic book that you could read along to. You can find them on YouTube as well. I don't know if they necessarily show the books, but you can see the content. They're just Fabulous adjacents. Look at that. It's just awesome.
I mean, it's got
It actually gives me a for a show.
This back. Like I had always looked at the front, but this back, man, with all the big monster Dracula about to bite Werewolf by Night, it's just beautiful. It's just wonderful. But yeah,
I think there's
really
4 in the monster series. There's that one. There's the Tomb of Dracula one. There's 4 in the series.
Mm-hmm.
There's that one. There's the Tomb of Dracula, Frankenstein, and Werewolf by Night as well.
Yes. Yeah, so they're showing you all the ones you could get, and man, yeah, I love this book. Really I know I have the raw copies. I have a couple of these now. It's just I guess this is the one I collect the most of. When everyone like gets one of the Ingalls the book they always pick up. This is mine.
So is Man-Thing? Have you got pretty much all the Man-Thing books? Yeah,
the big ones. So I've got, Savage Tales. I've got the first appearance of Man-Thing. All these on the cover. I've got. Then it goes into Adventures into Fear 10, which was his first solo story. And Adventures into Fear 11 is a big one. And it goes up to 19. 19, you get first Howard the Duck in there with him. And then it stops there. And that's when they go to his first solo series. The titular work of Frank Bruner, a lot of Frank Bruner, Mike Plug, and then Steve Gerber writing it, which is really an eccentric writer, but I enjoyed it. So yeah, and then like the run, I've got the first volume run. There's not a ton of keys. It's not hard to pick up.
It's not. No. I mean, I quite like it. It gets expensive if you go into the Adventure to Fear books, because obviously that Key Howard book, that first one, Savage. So I remember looking. I've got a copy of Savage 2, and it's such a tough book to find in decent grade anyway. But it's such a fabulous the art on that book as well. If you get a raw copy and can read it, it's beautiful.
For Savage Tales 1. Yeah. So mine was raw when I bought it, and I read through it, and the art is haunting in there. Gray Morrow, the first guy to draw and work on Man-Thing, and he's done some of the Red Circle books. Like he did a lot of covers for those. He's just one of unbelievable. It's haunting. The imagery is beautiful in there. The Conan story. I read it all before I slabbed it, so I was like, "This is amazing." It's all black and white,
All black and white.
Yeah. And even though you don't get sorry.
No, you go.
I was just saying, even though you don't get Man-Thing on the cover, you get to see Conan decapitation, Buscema.
Conan decapitation. It's what you want on every book. We've got Derek here as well. Good to see you, Derek, as always, sir. So yeah, just like I'm a big on the Marvel magazines, because they were allowed to cut a little bit more loose. I'm interested is like so if you love Man-Thing so much, right? How do you feel about Swamp Thing?
I celebrate Swamp Thing too. It's the same. It's two sides of the same coin, right? Like Swamp Thing is, he's sentient. He knows who he is. He knows what he is. He knows what happened. He fights for good. This was gifted to me by Gary from the Comics Codex Station. He really wanted me to read this, and he's encouraged me to read the first 10, and I will. But this was like a standalone story and a classic Wrightson cover. I love Bernie Wrightson. And this was a great intro story for Swamp Thing for me. I mean, I grew up with the Swamp Thing movies from the 80s, which my dad showed me, and we thought they were hilarious and cheesy, but that's what you got. They've been their tackling DC characters. So I do celebrate Swamp Thing as well. Swamp Thing, sentient, knows what's up. Whereas Man-Thing, he goes through that accident. He doesn't know who he is anymore. Everything he does is off emotions, and fear and stuff like that. He doesn't know what he is. I mean, they made him very different in the Marvel TV show, and I like that angle they went with it. I thought that was cool. I thought that's fine. So I do love Swamp Thing as well, just not as much as Man-Thing. I don't know if it's the look of Man-Thing too. Like he's no more. Man-Thing is like no more human, basically. Like he's got his hands and his feet and stuff, but like his face is like there's a little bit of human left in Swamp Thing, you know?
Yeah, which is the irony I find in both the books as well. Is I love, equally like you, I like both of them, but there's this, um, you know, the Man Thing feels more human, even though it is more human, whereas Swamp Thing started out as this just shambling creature, and both of them were very similar. But I love the way Alan Moore took it in a completely different direction. And so they are two very distinct, but I just love the fact that they kept the supernatural element with Man Thing as opposed to, and that's the other thing. In Bronze Age Marvel horror, that sort of that whole that whole way that they leaned into sort of magic and nexus for realities and that sort of stuff. And just the way that they tied in Legion of Monsters, for instance, which is another one of my favourites, how they brought that together. And I like the way they're continuing that. So it'll be good to see where they go next. Speaking of the TV show, oh, go on, you go.
No, you go with yours first because I got something to tie both Man Thing and Swamp Thing together.
So I was going to say that you mentioned the TV show, which I adored. What do you think they're going to do next with that whole space, if at all?
I know they're talking. I know they're talking Midnight Suns. I think that the Werewolf by Night special was one of the best things in that phase, and it was just an hour, and it was noir, and it gave you the characters and gave you a little bit to know about Werewolf and Elsa and Man Thing and Ulysses Bloodstone. And that was such a big hit. Like, no one I talked to didn't like that, unless they're the hardcore people like, that wasn't Man Thing, that's not how he is. It's like, well, they have to adapt. Like, they can't just they can't give the nerds everything. They need general audiences to fall for it. And so when that came out, I was just taken aback. And then the next year, the writer's strike went on, right? So all they could do for Halloween was they just put it in color. You got to see the whole thing. It was probably an easy way for them to just say, hey, Halloween, this is what we're going to do. I wish they'd revisit it because the relationship between Werewolf by Night and Man Thing was so great. The perfect amount of little humor of Werewolf, like, oh, you always get yourself caught, Ted, you're always get yourself in this mess, and he's just trying to help his buddy out. And then Man Thing coming back at the end and just showing off his powers, but still just, even when Elsa meets him and she's like, Ted, and he's like, huh, me. And I just thought that it all worked so well together. And I hope they explore that. I hope they listen to the fans. Because me and my wife watch it every Halloween season because it has that spooky vibe. You don't have to know the characters. It has that spooky vibe.
Yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I was nervous when I first heard the premise for the plot because it didn't feel like it was going to work.
100%.
But it's just fabulous. So I bought the vinyl record that they did as well for the soundtrack.
Oh, it's
beautiful.
And if you think about it, they brought the Bloodstone into canon. Like, if they're going to go down the dark path, that Bloodstone is such a huge thing. And they make that it can kill monsters. It can bring out monsters. So that exists in the universe. So anything they do with Midnight Suns can revolve around the Bloodstone,
I loved that. So that was one of the things that I think they did well with Werewolf by Night special that they've not done for a while, is that they didn't reveal everything. They didn't have multiple things. It was, to your point, they had key aspects that they gave a hint about or mentioned briefly. You didn't understand, as a comic fan, you understood what was going on with Ted or Man Thing, right? But it was just a really cool, neat way to introduce that in, and then having the Bloodstone in, as you mentioned, having Ulysses in there. Just these little sort of trinkets, rather than having these fully formed characters. They need to go back to that sort of world where they tease enough for the fans, and so we start not specking, but just getting back into it.
Yeah, remember when they were in the trophy room and they had all the heads on the wall, the monsters you killed? And the one guy's talking to Jack, and he's like, "Are any of these yours?" and he looks around and he points at the Dracula like bat creature. He's like, I fought him a few times. Like those little Easter eggs, like for us comic lovers, like they have to change a lot. I get that, but that keeps me going. I'm like, yes, like I know what that means and could be.
Yeah, but I think that's the point. Is that they far too often nowadays they go too deep down the rabbit hole very very quickly, and they don't sort of tease enough. They should be going back. Look, use that as a template because it's really good. And I thought Michael, I can't remember how his second name is. He's the guy that composes most of the music in his first directing role for Marvel, because he used to do movies when he was a kid. But he just the way he treated the material. That's the other thing. He's a fan of movies and a fan of the comics, and so it really came through in that story. So I was super happy with it.
Absolutely.
We've got Vincent here as well. Hi, Vincent. Good to see you. Always joins. So yeah, you were gonna show another book, I think.
This ties the two together. So like when you talk Man-Thing and Swamp Thing, there's the granddaddy of them all that they really might not exist if it wasn't for the Heap. Now this is not the first appearance of the Heap. Obviously, that is in like Air Fighters or something, number 3. It's a Golden Age book, and it's essentially a ghost book. Like the only person I know that has one because he hunted it hard is Alan, the comic collector geek.
Wow.
But I mean, that's the Heap started it all. The Heap came before all of them in the Golden Age and started the Swamp Monster mythos, if you will. I've read this story. This is like a compilation with a bunch of different short stories, but they still do the same thing of like the trope of am I man or am I monster? Why do I have to live like this? Yeah. And they're shooting at him and bullets are going through him and nothing can hurt him. And he's like, I can't die. So it's like definitely all the elements that come to the swamp creatures we know now came from this bad boy. And again, Uncle Gary sent me this too from the Codex Station with the Swamp Thing. Another guy that shares our loves. You find in this community, you find people to share the love for these kind of things. And all of a sudden you're getting sent books you didn't know about, But no, this is really lucky to have this one. I got to read the other stories in it, but this was great. So I had to show the Heap. I had to give my love to the Heap.
Yeah, that's true. The problem now is that I have to. I'll go on a Heap hunt.
Yeah, I don't know what else in this era. Yeah, because now I want more.
Yeah, and that's the other thing when I watch your channel. There are books sometimes that you'll pull out, particularly the monster books, that I just go, ugh, now I need to get that. So it's always, and this is the thing that I love about YouTubers and YouTube channels, is that you find these other YouTubers that have the same sort of passion, have those same sort of comic books that they want to find, and you end up being pulled down their rabbit hole. And as I say, looking at the back there, some of them I have, but I'm like jealous of things like your Weird Science, for instance, right? Which is tough books to get and find in the first place.
That I got on eBay actually, but Steppo helped me find that. Like he was hunting for. I said I want a pre-code Seduction Innocent known book, Wallywood cover, and he found it on eBay. He's like, "This is the price. You're probably not offer him this much," and kind of led me through that. So again, the community helping. And Mr. Akins from What's on the Comic Rack always just says that this is one big commercial. YouTube is one big commercial for stuff you didn't know you need, but now you want. Like that's so true.
It is. It's just one big commercial. I worry sometimes when I present books. I'm sort of, whether or not people go out and find them. I know I do for sure. In terms of Nightcat's a good example.
Yes. Yes.
Speaking of comics, so you've got a lot of what people would call holy grails in the background. What is the holy grail comic or collectible that you're hunting for right now or still looking for that you haven't got yet?
I mean, you get these books that I'm surrounded by. I'm really grateful because they're not cheap. I have 2 kids. I have to work a lot of overtime to get these books or sell comics I have, I would love to own a FF1 someday. I would love to. And I actually caught myself questioning the other day, Dave. I was like, what if I really want that book, what if I sold everything behind me? with the exception of a couple, like a couple that mean the most to me. And all these raws I have, the couple short boxes, like I could do it. I could have that one book. Would I be happy owning that one book versus the 40 around me? I don't know. Like it tempts me because I've seen a couple people do that and it works. And it's like Alex the comic book hoarder, great YouTuber I look up to. He is all about it. Like he'll just keep getting books that he loves in and enjoy them for a while. And then when he wants a big book, he sells them all. And man, it's been tempting because I do want an FF1 someday. I gave up on doing the whole run, but man, to have that book that started Marvel superheroes would be a dream.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I've had the same. Literally this week, I was thinking the same thing. More around original art and just whittling down the whole collection. But I just struggle with that. I don't think I could.
I know you sit in your chair, right, in your office, and you look at them, and you're just like, I remember when I got that. I remember what comic show I was at when I got that. I remember what friend on Instagram messaged me and said, "Oh, they've got this available. You should get it." Like, like Rohan from Back in the Game Comics, Absolute Game of Nerds. Like that's his shtick. Is like he only has, I think it's closer to 40. But I mean, it's first Fantastic Four, first X-Men, first Doctor Doom, first Iron Man, first like the biggest keys that like mean the most to him of collecting like the Marvel cards as a character. Like he loved those, but even he hasn't branched out into collecting the original art of those. I'd love to go down the original art road too, like you. Like I love it's one of one, right? Like it's so I like scarcity.
Yeah, that's you mentioned Mike Plug earlier. That was part of the reason for the rationale for that purchase, because no one's going to have a file copy from Mike Plug. Very few people are going to have a Mike Plug personal collection copy. So those are the sort of things that I'm starting to change. Like when I found out that New Mutants issue 1, that the New Mutants graphic novel issue 4. Was a Canadian price variant and signed. I was like, well, there's not very many of those. So I find that's the thing now that drives a lot of this.
Scarcity gets me going, like you look at the census and like even a modern, it doesn't have to be old. I've got a Berserker #1 third printing that I got signed by Keanu Reeves and Ron Garney. And Matt from MPress Comics pressed it for me and did a heck of a job. And I'm getting a 9.8. And to see that in the census as top of the pop, none higher, only one graded, like I'm the only one that has that graded in a 9.8 by those guys. Like that's what that says to me. And it's like doesn't get much more special than that. And the memory I have getting like what I had to go through to get it. And just to culminate like that is just like crazy.
We have Dope in the house as well. I want to say hi. Two of my
freaking awesome guy.
Look at that. How nice. But I did want to say, let me turn this off. There's a bit of a lag. Anyway, there we go. I did want to say, I saw your video on that, and I think having talked to you about how painful that whole process was, and if you haven't checked that video out, this was when you were at Terrificon last year, right?
Yes. Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Tell the viewers a little bit about that horror story, because it was not. You couldn't sit down. That was my understanding, and you had to stand for about 5 hours.
I mean, it really started with on Wednesday. Ricky texted me. He said, "Dude, Keanu's going to be there on Friday only. You have to have VIP passes, and he's only signing Berserker books." And I'm like, "Well, I satisfy all those except the Berserker book." So I messaged Jeff from Comic Spa because we're on our way to see Mike and hang out at his place. And I'm like, I need a Berserker book. And he had 3 waiting for me by the time I got there. And he was like, take your pick. So there's another community like coming through. And then, so we went to, let me grab it. Yeah, so I went with a foil cover because I 90s kid foil. And he would only sign this stuff. You could get one item signed and a picture, and it was free because you were VIP and you had to be one of the first 100 in line. He was only taking 100. So because he was playing at a casino, Foxwoods, and for his band Dogstar, and he's obviously in this book with Ron Garney. And so Ricky on Thursday night, he's like, I'm in, dude. Like, this is once in a lifetime. Like, let's get up at 4 a.m. And Ricky was smart, went to bed. I stayed up with the crew, which you know how that goes at Heroes Con, staying up at those hours. But I got up at like 4:30 and went down there. Ricky was 23 in line. He's like, dude, yes, you came. And this is at 5 a.m. I'm like, yep, I saw him 24. So like we're in. People started like they told everyone you had to be lined up starting 8 a.m., but everyone knew that you were going to have to go early if you're going to get it. Some people have been there since 2 a.m. So I really count our start at 5 a.m. And then we were against a wall, and they didn't know what to do with us really, because they just didn't know where to put us. And like we'd sit down, and they'd come by and be like, "You can't sit down. Casino rules. Stand up." And it must have been something like Ricky could. The only thing I could think of was like loitering, something like that, like some weird rule they had. So like you couldn't sit at all. You were just against. So we take turns going to get like snacks and waters and stuff, and it wasn't till about 12:30 that they ushered us in. So now it's like 7.5 hours in. We get ushered into the special room. Everyone's got their wristband, and he came out, and it took us about a half hour to get through the line. At that point, I was so delirious from being dehydrated, being up so late. I was just like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, thanks for everything. Like, you're amazing. You're a big part of from my childhood to now of my favorite movies. And I got a picture with him, and Ron Garney was a super sweetheart, and he signed it. And I remember coming out of the room, and the con was going. Right now it's like 2:00. The con's full swing. I'm delirious. I've got this book, like not trying to smudge it. And the photographer from the con happened to be there. And she's like, "Oh, can I take your picture with that?" If you see the picture of me, I'm like, just a mess. It's just like, I got it. And I went back to my room and I napped for 2 hours. And then went down to the con floor and met up with everyone. So Ricky and I just 8 hours standing on concrete. And they told us once we got into the inner one, they're like, "You can sit down when you get to the inner one." And that was like an hour before we met, and we couldn't sit down. They wouldn't let us. So it was brutal concrete for 8 hours. And then I had it for like a year. And I said, "Listen, I got to get these verified. This is something my kids will get, when I'm gone, and I need them to know who signed it and stuff." So that's when Matt from Empress Comics, who I use for pressing now, he's kind of like Jeff has taught him a ton of stuff. And there was a little nick on this side that he had to use a tack iron to get out for a number of days.
Yeah.
It's still kind of visible. So we wonder what this could have been if that wasn't visible at all. Could have got a 9.9. Who knows? I didn't expect it. And it wasn't about the grade to me. It was about just verifying, yes, it's their legit signatures, The 9.8 just is a testament to Matt's work and how good he is. So that's the story behind the hardest book I think I've worked to acquire.
That's a great story, and the comments on this are great as well. So let's just have a quick look, because you'll like this. If you ever sell that Berserker on top of the list, which I don't think you're ever going to sell.
If I had to, it'd be you, Matt. It would have to be you.
This one I did. Does the hangover come back every time you look at that Berserker?
No, the feeling of exhaustion, of pure exhaustion, looking at this.
It still comes back. It must be elating to have that in your hand, and just, yes, you went through some pain to get it, but it's totally worth it.
Keanu doesn't do many signings. He doesn't do cons. It's hard to get his sig on anything. So yeah, and Ron Garney, I love his art too. He's wonderful. The book reads like Keanu because he wrote it. Like if you read it, you're like, that's Keanu Reeves writing that book. But yeah, no, yeah, it's amazing.
And this one, I'm going to finish with this one. Every time I hear this story, my back and feet hurt.
As they should. They should.
It's and that's the problem, and one of the joys is it's great to meet your heroes, but when they're in demand, the amount of queuing that you have to do, it's I'm British, I should be used to it.
That's a legit A-lister. I'd never really met an A-lister like that, and he was so kind, as everyone says he is. He was so kind, and he took the time with people. And there's only 100 of us, They were ushering us through pretty quick because he had to go, but he was still very kind. And so was Ron Garney. And but yeah, Ricky, my brother, and Keanu, that's what we call each other now, because like it's just you and that's a community experience. Like when I started this YouTube journey, would have never dreamed that would have been something that culminated from it. And I'm so glad it did, and I know people have similar stories, maybe not the exact same, but I heard a lot of stories from Heroes Con about different people hanging out and getting books, and it was just, it's special, right?
It is. It's great fun. It's absolutely great fun. Did you have any more books to show before we close the stream down?
Yeah, I got a couple more. My favorite ones, I guess. My favorite, and I'll write these quick, but My favorite.
You don't need to be quick. I just was wanting to make sure you got your. Oh, there you go. So I've for the longest time wanted that book, and
it's come down so much
jealous.
in price. I got this. It's come down so much in price. I mean, like as all books have, but I didn't care. I wanted to own it, and I love Fin Fang Foom, and I just think he's one of the coolest monsters ever designed. So I love Finn, and then I also got. You know what else? You
don't have to rush. You don't have to rush. I'm not driving you away, but you can't lift. You can't just lift that book up and go, "Oh, let me move on to the next one." Right? So we need to talk about this because this is a great book, and it's the reason why this price has probably dropped is because everyone was specking on Fin Fang Foom appearing in Shang-Chi, right?
Yeah.
I still think given how important Fin Fang Foom is, appearing throughout the whole history of Marvel Universe, it's such a key, great book. So when did you buy that one?
A year and a half ago, from a YouTuber, Joe from the Comic Book Canon, 360 Comics. It was actually after our live stream. Remember, I was like, guys, I'm looking for a Strange Tales 89. He's like, I have one. And remember, you were on that Big Five Live, so we, like everyone else, left, and him and I worked out this deal, and he sent it to me, and I couldn't believe it. I was so bummed with Iron Man 3 because they brought out the Mandarin, and I thought it was the real Mandarin. He looks, we had a legit Oscar winner in Ben Kingsley. I thought they were going to go that route, and I thought that eventually he'd find the 10 rings and then awaken Fin Fang Foom, like in the stories. But they didn't. Alas, they went down a red herring crap.
It's a very weird. That was a very, very weird choice. I still think that this supposed reset they're going to do, there's an opportunity for them, but I just don't trust the big Disney corporation to be able to translate a lot of this stuff now.
Yeah,
it's just that's the issue. I did want to mention that you've got such a big book there, and I've just noticed in the chat, and we haven't talked about this. You're almost at 2,000 subscribers.
35 away.
35 away.
I was very stagnant for a while. I didn't know if I'd hit it. I was like 1850 for 6 months. I wouldn't go up or down, and I think it's because I didn't produce videos for I take 2 weeks off to hang out with my family. I'm like, it's summer. I don't want to be like. It's such a horrible anxiety once you get doing YouTube that if you don't stay relative and put out a video, the algorithm hates you. So I just wasn't. And then a few weeks ago, I started pumping out videos and ones that people liked apparently. And I shot up to, I'm at 1965 now. And I'm like, oh, this is doable. This is possible.
All right. So I'm gonna make a special call out to those of us in the community, those who are watching. We've got 14 people watching. Reach out to any of your friends who may not know about Brandon's channel. Get them on it. Let's see if we can get it, even if we can try and do it before Brandon shows off all the remaining books he's got here, which may be very quick because he just pops them up and lets them go. But we're going to talk about some books. Hopefully we can get you to that 2K whilst we're live.
All right. That would be, thank you. I appreciate that. It's way far beyond what I thought this channel would do. So, you know what else got me down the monster rabbit hole was how I don't call them prototypes because they really aren't the same, but the name stealing. So Journey in the Mystery 62 that's the first time we get Hulk on a comic book. And it's nothing like the real Hulk.
Why is he brown? Yeah, why is he brown? It's Zemu, isn't it? Was it Zemu?
Zemu the Titan, yeah. He looks more like his regular self when they reprint it in Monsters on the Prowl.
There you go.
Right.
Look at that.
But this cover,
they have battled.
What's that?
The Hulk and the Hulk, or Zim the Titan, have battled. I think it's Hulk and.
Yes, they definitely do. But they had to rename, by the time Monsters and the Prowl came out, they just, said, oh, it's Zemnu the Titan as it is on the inside of this, but they couldn't put Hulk on it obviously anymore. So I love the history of like the names getting recycled, and I like picking up, if I have the original, I like picking up the reprints that Marvel got into in the Bronze Age of all their monster comics.
Wonderful. That is, again, I'm jealous. I don't have that Journey into Mystery. That's one I am missing.
It's a
And
great
as a
book.
Hulk
This was
fan,
a Terrificon buy. This was one on my list for Terrificon, and this was the only copy there. I went to literally every booth and asked if they had it to try to find the best condition and price, and only one guy had it. So I was like, "Oh, you get my business then."
that's really cool. And it's 12 center, right? Or is it? Because
What's that?
12 cents or 10 cents?
Oh, 10 center.
10 center. Yeah,
Yeah,
there it is.
in the box.
Yeah.
I'm
used to seeing 9D in that corner.
Yeah, yeah, I know that's your thing, mate. My favorite book in my collection, my this is the one that, like, the bigger book I went after, but it's my favorite Frank Bruner art, favorite Man-Thing cover is this Man-Thing, the first solo series, signed by Frank
And
Bruner.
Wow. When did you get that?
I got this when I first started doing YouTube. This was like one of the first big books that, like, because it's hard to find this book in this grade, especially if signed by Frank Bruner. You don't see a lot of Bruner autographs out there. And this was a 9.4 when I got it. And then Roy Thomas announced he was going to be signing, who is a co-creator of Man-Thing, and he signed it. And so I had a trade-off. Okay, I got a grade bump, went from a 9.4 to a 9.6. But Roy Thomas's autograph is almost it's right here. You have to, like, shine the light on it, right? So look how bright Bruner's is, and the marker must have been running out there. So I didn't get a super bright signature out of it, which stinks, but I did get the grade bump. It's a very low number. I think there's like 10 in this grade signed and only 4 higher. Again, back to the scarcity thing, you know? So this is like my...
So did you submit that to CGC for grading? And
I did.
And sorry, not for grading. Sorry, for pressing, or did you? Because once it's signed, then
so
you
yes,
have to.
I submitted. So I sent it back to them, and I had I did like the painter's tape of where I wanted him to sign, and they stayed to that. And I did pay for their pressing because people were going to touch it. And I was like, for $15 or whatever, I might as well just pay to, like, hope that it stays the same grade. I would have been fine with that. So yeah, the trade-off was not that bright of a signature from Thomas, but a grade bump into a different category. So the only other person
that's a win in anyone's book.
Yeah, the only other person I could add to this is Jerry Conway, which just did a signing, but I didn't want to spin the wheel. I just didn't want to. I'm who knows what I could have done, but it's okay. I love it for what it is. I got 2 iconic signatures on it.
See, that's an interesting dilemma. So, I don't know what I would do in that instance. I would. Does the grade matter if you've got all those signatures now?
No, it really doesn't. And like, everyone's like worried about value and stuff, but again, I think it appeases that scarcity thing too. It's like I got to bump into a category that has less in it that kind of got me going, but I probably should have added Conway to this, but it's all good. Like, be happy with what you got, I guess.
Like, it does feel like that's what you should do.
I know. But maybe he's getting old too, though, man. He's getting old.
Yeah. Oh no, he's not. Yeah, he's not. They're all getting there. That's the problem.
I got a raw book.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. I've got I brought you, while you're doing that, while you were unpacking that, I was going to bring this up as well. For those of you who haven't seen, this is the greatness that you will get. Your amazing channel, sir. We still haven't hit the 2K yet, which I will urge everyone to do so. The link is down below, scrolling across. So go over to Mon's channel, Moncomics, and basically check out all the great content and subscribe and get into 2K. Because you've been recognised a few times in the CBC A Awards as well, right?
Very grateful. Last year I was in 2 categories. I can't remember, best unboxing, and something else I can't remember. And then this year, I never expect, like, there's so many great content creators out there that I do not expect, but just to have people care about what I do enough and like what I do to nominate to get me to the final. So now I'm best comic book show in the 1K to 2K sub tier for the Big Five Live, which I'm very proud of because that's like my baby. That's what I wanted to like. I wanted to live stream when I started YouTubing and getting into and seeing people doing good live streams like that brought the community together. And I love doing it and talking with everyone. And then the other category is biggest community promoter. I got the builder. Yes. Which I love that too, because that goes hand in hand. That's why I started the Big Five Live, was to like give exposure to every channel I could. So I'm very, very grateful to be a finalist is huge. Like, you know, like it's just, there's so much recognition there and love there that like, I'm grateful for that.
Wonderful stuff, mate. Well, I hope all the best in terms of those two categories.
Thank you.
I'm always going to close. Yeah, I was going to say, what are you going to close us out with? The fact that you're
all right. I'm going to close you out with a great example. Okay, so this is early Tales to Astonish, issue 11.
Ooh,
really nice shade.
Wowzers.
Some spine ticks, but another thing about the monster books that I wish they give you this monster on the front, right? Like it looks like just a generic swamp monster, but on the splash page, I really wish they would have used this on the front of the book. It's Monstrum. Look how cool that monster is, like with horns and one eye. And like, I just wonder like if they would have got more traction if they had that guy on the front. I mean, or maybe it's the mystery, you know, like you don't know what you're getting into.
It's a bit of bait and switch because that creature on the front cover looks nothing like the creature in the interior.
It really doesn't. And I love Monstrum. When I was a kid, again, monsters I've always been into, but the horns, one eye, it just did it for me. This is a swamp creature too, a dweller in the black swamp, you know, like I can't get away from him. So this is one of I got this from Spro's Comics, who's another YouTuber, wonderful YouTuber. He sells books. He reached out to me. He's like, I got one you got to have. And I was like, okay. And then he sent me that picture. And I was like, wow, like it's very hard to find him in this condition with that gloss still on there and the staples not rusted. So
yeah,
that's what awesome I'll close out with.
That's a nice one to end with as well, because I've not seen that before. So now it's another one for me to go hunt.
Yep.
So always finding new books for people to go and dig out and find. That's a great one.
Always.
So thank you very much, Brandon. Honestly, it's been an absolute joy. I've loved having you on. So good that we found time. It's been an absolute joy. I will, if you ever need me on the show, I'm happy to do similar sort of thing as well to support the channel. You let me know.
You're coming back on for sure. I've got to think of some new ideas now.
No worries. With that, then we will let everyone go. Thank you all for those of you in the chat for being here. We were paying attention, but obviously we had to sort of focus on Brandon's books here. So, but thank you all for being in the chat. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you next week. Coming from the usual space, finally, I'll be back in my normal house and normal studio. So hopefully you'll get a good sense of some of the books I'll be showing there. If you haven't already, head over to Moncomics. Please subscribe if you can. And if you are so willing, please vote for him in the CBC Awards
I always say CBC
as well.
Awards.
I do the same thing. It's like crazy, right? With that, we will let you go. Take care of yourselves. And we will see you very soon.